blade stopped 3 inches from my throat. I didn't move. Couldn't. The ceremonial hall of the Valtharan throne ship stretched around me like a cathedral made of living crystal, and every one of the 100 warriors surrounding me had weapons drawn. Their armor gleamed silver blue under bioluminescent panels, faceplates reflecting my own pale human face back at me like a gallery of mirrors. "Hold!" The voice came from the dais, cold and absolute. The blade trembled, didn't lower. I'd been standing in the diplomatic queue for 20 minutes, waiting my turn to present Earth's trade proposal. Ambassador Chen stood 3 people behind me, probably calculating how badly this would damage relations. The Valtharan Empire controlled 17 star systems. We controlled 1 planet and 3 struggling colony moons. Then the child appeared. She couldn't have been more than 7 in human years, though Valtharan aging was different. Pale violet skin, luminous golden eyes, elaborate silver robes that dragged on the polished floor. She walked straight through the line of dignitaries like they weren't there, guards moving aside automatically, and stopped directly in front of me. "You?" she said, her voice carried in the sudden silence. "I remember you. I had never seen her before in my life. Princess Kayla." The guard captain's voice was tight. "Please return to..." He saved me. She reached out, one small hand. 6 fingers, I noticed distantly. "Delicate as porcelain. In the fire." "You carried me out." My mind raced. I'd been to exactly 3 planets outside Earth. Never Valtros Prime. Never anywhere near Valtharan space until this delegation 6 days ago. I'd certainly never been in a fire with alien royalty. "Your Highness," I said carefully, "I think you're mistaken."
The guards tensed. "You had red on your uniform."
Human red. You didn't speak our language, but you said the same word over and over. Okay. You wrapped me in your jacket. The throne room had gone absolutely still. I looked past her to the dais, where Queen Valtara sat on a throne that seemed carved from a single massive diamond. She was perfectly motionless, watching this exchange with eyes the same gold as her daughter's but ancient, weighing, calculating. Her crown was a living thing, small crystalline branches that grew directly from her temples. "Princess," I tried again, "I've never..." The scar. Kayla pulled back her sleeve. A pale mark ran along her forearm, barely visible against her violet skin. "The beam fell. You pushed me away, but it cut my arm." You said that word again, okay, like a promise. Someone in the queue behind me inhaled sharply. Ambassador Chen, probably having a stroke. This was impossible. I would remember saving alien royalty. I would remember a fire, a collapsing structure, carrying a child through smoke and flame. Wouldn't I? But her eyes held such certainty. "How old are you, Princess?" I asked quietly. 16 cycles. 7 of your years. She tilted her head. "It was the day the embassy burned, 12 years ago, when I was 4. 12 years ago, I'd been 19, fresh out of basic training, assigned a security detail at Earth's first off-world embassy, on Kelvar 3 in Neutral World. The embassy had been attacked by anti-human extremists. Fire, explosions, evacuation. I'd pulled 3 people out that day, all human. Ed and I. The memories were hazy. Smoke. Screaming. The acrid smell of burning insulation. Running back inside because someone said there were still people trapped. The second floor collapsing. Heat so intense it blistered through my uniform. A child crying. "Oh God," I whispered. The captain's blade pressed closer to my throat. "The human will explain how he came to be near the princess during a terrorist attack on foreign soil. Captain Varane." The queen spoke for the second time, her voice like a glacier moving. "Lower your weapon." "Your Majesty, protocol demands." I said lower it, slowly. Queen Valtara rose. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, her robes flowing like liquid silver. She descended the dais steps with perfect grace, and the assembled court fell to their knees. Everyone except me. I didn't know the protocols. Didn't know if bowing would be seen as submission, or respect, or insult. She stopped directly in front of me. Up close, I could see the tiny scars on her hands, marks of ritual or combat. Her crown branches moved slightly, as if tasting the air. "Tell me what you remember, human," she said softly. "All of it."
"So I did. The embassy."
The fire. Going back in. Finding a small room filled with smoke, something huddled in the corner. Grabbing the child, Yes, a child, small and terrified and not human, wrapping her in my jacket because her clothes were burning, the stairwell collapsing, finding another way out, the burn ward afterward. The commendation I'd never understood because the reports only mentioned 3 rescues. They told me everyone got out, I finished. I thought maybe I'd been confused. The smoke, the chaos. I thought maybe I'd imagined the 4th person. Kayla was crying. Silent tears tracking down her violet cheeks. You did not imagine it, the Queen said. Her voice carried no warmth, but something flickered in her eyes. That attack was meant to kill my daughter. She had accompanied me to neutral space for preliminary trade talks. The terrorists knew she was there. She paused. Our security failed. Yours did not. I didn't know who she was, I said. I just knew she was a kid. Yes. The Queen looked at me for a long moment. That makes it more remarkable, not less. She turned to the assembled court. This human saved the crown princess of the Valtheran Empire. Saved her at risk to his own life, while our own guards were securing the perimeter. Saved her because it was necessary, not because it would gain him favor or reward. The question now is, what to do about it? The silence that followed felt like a blade waiting to fall. Mother, Kayla said softly, may I speak? The Queen nodded once. The princess looked up at me with those golden eyes. Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you come forward? You could have claimed it dead. Our house would have owed you everything. I almost laughed. Almost. Your Highness, I didn't know it was you. I filed a report that said 4 rescues. Someone changed it to 3. Maybe they thought I was confused. Maybe they didn't want to admit Valtheran's security failed. Maybe it was classified. I don't know. But I did my job. That's all. That's all, she repeated. A small smile touched her lips. He says, that's all, Mother. I heard him. Captain Verrain, clear the hall. Everyone except essential personnel and the human delegation. The room emptied in seconds, hundreds of dignitaries and courtiers filing out in perfect silence. Soon only the Queen, the Princess, a handful of guards, Ambassador Chen, and myself remained. Chen looked like he might faint. Your Majesty, if I may. You may not. The Queen cut him off without looking away from me. What is your name? Marcus Webb, Private First Class retired, now Civilian Trade Liaison, Private First Class. She repeated it like she was tasting the words. Not a diplomat. Not a politician, not someone trained in court protocol or interstellar law. No, ma'am. Just a soldier who saw a child in danger. Yes, ma'am. What do you remember of that day, Kayla? Everything. The princess's voice was steady now. The smoke, the fear. Calling for help and knowing no one would come in time. Then hands lifting me, a voice saying okay over and over. Safe arms. The smell of human fear, sweat, and courage. Being set down outside, wrapped in something that smelled like another world. Looking up and seeing him running back inside. Wanting to thank him, not having the words. And you've carried this memory for 12 years. I carried every day. They couldn't. Human records were incomplete. I thought he might have died, that he'd given his life for mine. I felt something cold settle in my chest. If I'd known what it meant to you, I would have tried to find you too. Why? The question came from the Queen, sharp as a knife. What would you have wanted? Reward? Position? Political leverage? I met her eyes. To know she was okay, that's all. The silence stretched so long I thought I'd said something wrong. Then the Queen's expression shifted. Not a smile. Something more profound. Recognition, maybe? Or respect? Kayla, she said quietly, do you trust this human? With my life, Mother. He's already proven worthy of it. The Queen nodded slowly. Then we have a problem. She gestured to Captain Verrain. Show him. The captain tapped a control on his wrist. A holographic display appeared in the air between us. Images of fires, explosions, bodies, and in the center of it all, a symbol I didn't recognize. The same group that attacked the embassy 12 years ago has become more sophisticated, the Queen said. They call themselves the Purity Collective. They believe humanity's expansion into space pollutes the galaxy. They've been dormant for nearly a decade. 3 weeks ago, they resurfaced. We have intelligence suggesting they're planning another attack. Here, on this ship. My blood ran cold. During the trade summit, specifically targeting the human delegation. They want to make it appear that Earth attacked us. Start a war that would justify the eradication of your species. Ambassador Chen made a strangled sound. Your Majesty, our security protocols are insufficient. The Queen's voice was flat. They have infiltrated multiple levels of diplomatic security. We don't know who we can trust. She looked at me, except a man who had nothing to gain and everything to lose, who saved my daughter because it was right. Finally understood why this meeting had gone so wrong so fast. You need help identifying the threat. We need someone who knows human security protocols. Someone who has no political connections to exploit. Someone who has already proven they can be trusted in a crisis. The Queen's eyes glinted. We need Private First Class Marcus Webb. But first, I need to know if you're willing. Behind me, Ambassador Chen started to speak. The Queen raised one hand, silencing him. This is his choice, she said. Not Earth's. Not his government's. His. I looked at Kayla. She was 16 cycles old. Still a child by Valtheran standards. Still the frightened 4-year-old I'd carried through smoke and flame. What do you need me to do? I asked. The princess smiled. The Queen's expression remained neutral, but something like approval flickered across her face. First, Queen Valtara said, you will tell me everything you remember about your security training. Every detail. Second, you will work with Captain Varane to identify vulnerabilities in our current protocols. Third, you will attend all diplomatic functions as part of my daughter's personal guard. And fourth, she paused, you will trust no one except those I explicitly authorize. Not even Ambassador Chen? The collective's infiltration runs deep. Anyone could be compromised. Your Majesty, I must protest. Protest noted and dismissed. The Queen turned to him. You and your delegation will proceed with the trade summit as planned. Marcus Webb will be reassigned to my personal staff. Official story, we discovered his role in saving the princess and are honoring him accordingly. This will appear to be ceremony and politics, nothing more. And the truth? I asked. The truth is that you have 72 hours to help us identify and stop assassins who want to start an interstellar war. She met my eyes. The same amount of time you had 12 years ago to decide whether to run back into a burning building, except this time the entire galaxy might burn. About the fragile colony moons. About the thousands of humans spread across alien space, hoping for a future among the stars. I thought about a small child crying in the smoke. When do we start? I said. The Queen nodded once. Captain Varane will brief you immediately. You'll need to memorize the security layout of this vessel, learn Valtheran combat protocols, and understand the complete schedule of diplomatic events. She turned to leave, then paused. And Marcus? Yes, Your Majesty? Thank you for my daughter. For all of this. Her voice softened just slightly. Not many would accept such a burden. Respectfully, ma'am, it's not a burden. It's just the right thing to do. She studied me for a moment longer, then inclined her head. Perhaps that is why you are the only one I can trust. She gestured to Kayla. Come, daughter. Let Captain Varane explain to our new guardian why the next 3 days might kill him. Mouthed 2 words. Thank you. I nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak. Captain Varane approached, his expression unreadable behind his faceplate. Private Webb. Welcome to the most dangerous assignment in known space. Try not to die. It would upset the princess. I'll do my best. See that you do. He pulled up another holographic display. Now, about these terrorists. The ones who want to murder everyone you've ever loved. Let's discuss how we're going to stop them. The display showed the throne ship's layout. Hundreds of rooms. Thousands of corridors. Tens of thousands of places to hide a bomb or an assassin. 72 hours. I'd pulled a child from a fire with less time and fewer resources. Time to see if I could do it again. The briefing room was small, windowless, and absolutely secure. Captain Varane sealed the door behind us with 3 separate locks, then activated a device that made the air shimmer with interference fields. What you're about to hear cannot leave this room, he said, removing his helmet. Beneath it, his face was hard, scarred, and looked like it had never smiled. The Queen has placed extraordinary trust in you. Break it, and I will personally end your life. Clear? Clear. The Infinite Majesty is 5 kilometers long, houses approximately 30,000 personnel, and currently hosts 800 diplomatic guests for the trade summit. Any of them could be a threat. All of them are potential targets. You said the Purity Collective has infiltrated security. How deep? We've identified 3 compromised personnel in the outer guard, 2 in diplomatic screening, 1 in the communication center. His expression darkened. That we know of. Our counterintelligence suggests there are at least 6 more we haven't found. How did they get past your screening? Recruited years ago, before we even knew the collective existed. They'd been waiting, building trust, rising through ranks. Perfect cover. He zoomed in on a section of the ship. The summit's main event is in 48 hours, a formal banquet where the Queen will announce the new trade agreements. Maximum security, maximum attendance, maximum opportunity for catastrophe. I studied the layout. That's not where they'll strike. Varane's eyes narrowed. Explain. Too many guards. They'd never get close enough to do real damage. I pointed to a different section. But here, the cultural exchange ceremony. Scheduled for 6 hours before the banquet. Smaller venue, lighter security because it's supposed to be low risk. Delegates bringing artifacts from their homeworlds. The perfect opportunity to smuggle in weapons or explosives disguised as ceremonial objects. He was quiet for a moment. That's actually strategic thinking. Hi there. I'm not just a pretty face, Captain. Might have been a smile. Hard to tell. We've been focusing on the banquet. You're suggesting we split our attention. I'm suggesting they want you focused on the banquet while they hit you somewhere else. Classic misdirection. I zoomed in further. The cultural ceremony is in the Eastern Pavilion, right next to the princess's private quarters. And look here. The ventilation systems connect directly to the throne room. Set off something toxic or explosive in the pavilion, and you could kill half the royal family before anyone knew what was happening. Varane's expression had gone very still. How do you know our ship's layout well enough to see that? I'm reading the schematics you just showed me, but I know human psychology. I know how terrorists think. And I know that if I wanted to hurt the people who saved a princess while blaming the ones who didn't, I'd make it symbolic. The ceremony is about showing cultural respect, right? About proving we can coexist peacefully? Perfect place to shatter that illusion. Then he tapped his wrist communicator. Varane to Palace Security. I need a complete review of all items submitted for the cultural exchange ceremony. Run secondary scans on everything. Assign additional guards to the Eastern Pavilion. Authorization code Crimson 7, a voice crackled back. Sir, that will delay the ceremony schedule. I don't care. Do it. Varane out. He looked at me with something approaching respect. If you're wrong, I'll look like a paranoid fool. And if I'm right, then you'll have saved lives again. He pulled up another display. But the ceremony is just one vulnerability. We have dozens more. The delegation quarters, the medical bay, the observation decks, the medical bay? Standard diplomatic protocol requires a fully staffed medical facility for all guests. Why? Because medical supplies include all kinds of volatile chemicals, and medical personnel have access to everyone. I felt my pulse quicken. If I wanted to assassinate someone on this ship, I'd infiltrate the medical team. Poison disguised as medicine, or worse, a virus. Something that would spread before anyone realized what was happening. Something that would look like natural causes until it was too late. Varane's face went pale. Well, paler. The princess has a scheduled medical examination tomorrow. Routine diplomatic health screening for all VIPs. Cancel it. I can't. It's protocol. Required by interstellar health regulations. Every delegate, including royalty, must be certified disease-free before the summit. Then change who does the examination. Someone you absolutely trust. I trust our chief medical officer completely. She's been with the royal family for 20 years. 20 years is a long time to build a cover. I met his eyes. Captain, if these people recruited sleeper agents years ago, they'd pick positions with access and trust. What position has more of both than the chief medical officer? He was already moving, fingers flying across his wrist communicator. Security, I need complete background verification on Chief Medical Officer Relane. All travel records, communications, financial transactions for the past 10 years. Priority Alpha. Sir, the CMO? Do it now. While we waited, Varane pulled up personnel files. Graduated top of her class. Personally selected by the previous queen. Saved the current queen's life during a plague outbreak 15 years ago. If she's compromised, then we can trust no one. Maybe that's the point, I said quietly. Maybe that's exactly what they want you to think. His communicator chimed. He read the incoming data and his expression went rigid. 3 weeks ago, Relian accessed restricted medical files on human biology, specifically information about allergic reactions and toxin susceptibility. Did she have authorization? No. But she's the CMO. No one questioned it. They should have. They should have, he agreed grimly. He touched his communicator again. Security, I want Chief Medical Officer Relayan detained for questioning. Do it quietly. Make it look like a routine consultation. But I want her in an interrogation room in the next 10 minutes. Yes, sir. If you're wrong about this, then you apologize and explain you were being cautious. But if I'm right, we just stopped an assassination attempt before it began. I studied the map again. What else am I missing? What other positions have maximum access with minimum scrutiny? Food services. They prepare meals for the entire ship. Environmental controls. They manage life support. Communications. They handle all messages and data transfers. And, he paused, the Queen's personal attendants. They have unrestricted access to the royal family. How many attendants? 7. All female. All Valthurin. All vetted through the most rigorous security screening in the Empire. Run the checks again. All of them. That will take hours. Then we'd better start now, because in 72 hours, everyone in this ship might be dead. Then nodded. You're either brilliant or insane. In my experience, Captain, those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Come with me. The Queen will want a status update, and the Princess will want to know you haven't run away screaming. Would she blame me if I did? But she'd be disappointed. And trust me, human, you don't want to disappoint that child. As we walked through the crystalline corridors, I saw faces watching us. Curious? Suspicious. Afraid. Word would spread fast. The human who saved the princess had returned. Some would see it as providence. Others as opportunity. The terrorists would see it as a threat to be eliminated. We reached the Queen's private chambers. Guards flanked every entrance, weapons ready. Varain spoke a code phrase in Valthurin, and they stepped aside. Inside, the room was surprisingly simple. No throne, no elaborate decorations, just functional furniture, tactical displays, and the Queen herself standing by a window that showed the stars streaming past. Kayla sat nearby, reading from a tablet. She looked up when we entered, and her face brightened. Marcus, Captain Varain said you were reviewing security protocols. Have you found anything? Possibly, Your Highness. We're investigating several leads. The Queen turned from the window. Captain, report. Varain summarized everything. My analysis of the cultural ceremony, my concerns about the medical staff, my recommendations for additional background checks. The Queen listened without interruption, her expression giving nothing away. When he finished, she was silent for a long moment. What do you think, human? She asked finally. Not what you've deduced, what you feel, what your instincts tell you. I chose my words carefully. I think the Purity Collective is smarter than we're giving them credit for. I think they've been planning this for years. And I think they're counting on you being too focused on obvious threats to see the real danger until it's too late. And what is the real danger? Not just killing you or starting a war. That's tactics. The real danger is making humanity look like monsters. Making us seem like the threat we're supposed to be stopping. If they can pull that off, they don't just destroy Earth.
They justify the destruction.
Make it righteous. Her eyes sharpened. You understand psychological warfare. I understand that perception shapes reality. And right now, they're trying to shape how the galaxy perceives us. So, how do we fight it? By doing the right thing, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. I glanced at Kayla. 12 years ago, I didn't save your daughter to earn gratitude. I saved her because she needed saving. That's what humanity does. That's what they can't corrupt, no matter how clever their plans. The Queen studied me. You have an idealistic view of your species, but idealism kept me running back into that embassy. It'll keep me fighting for the next 72 hours. And hopefully it'll be enough. Captain Varain, continue your investigations. Double security at the cultural ceremony, and prepare a secondary medical team to examine the princess. People from outside normal rotation. No one who's been on this ship longer than a week. Yes, Your Majesty. And Marcus? She looked at me.
You will stay close to my daughter, not as a guard. We have plenty of those.
But as a reminder. A reminder of what, ma'am? That sometimes the best security is a person who simply refuses to let bad things happen. She almost smiled. You did it once. I'm trusting you to do it again. Before I could respond, alarms shrieked through the ship. Varain's hand went to his weapon. What Security breach, Eastern Pavilion, a voice shouted through the communicators. Explosion detected. Multiple casualties. Repeat, explosion in the Eastern Pavilion. The cultural ceremony where I'd predicted the attack, Varain was already running. The Queen's Guards surrounded her and Kayla instantly, forming a living shield. And I stood there, frozen, as smoke began filtering through the ventilation systems and screams echoed through the crystalline halls. Not 72 hours, not even 24. They'd started early. Marcus, Kayla's voice cut through my paralysis. What do we do? Saw the fear in her eyes. Saw the trust, too. We stopped them, I said, like we should have 12 years ago. I ran after Varain, leaving the princess under guard, heading toward the fire and smoke and chaos. Toward the screaming. Toward the place where everything would either end or begin. The Eastern Pavilion was chaos incarnate. Smoke poured from shattered windows, alarms wailed, and bodies lay scattered across polished floors. I counted 6 down, maybe 7. Some moving, some not. Varain was shouting orders into his communicator, directing response teams. Medical personnel rushed past us, security locked down surrounding corridors, and through the smoke I saw movement. Someone running? Away from the explosion, not toward help, moving with purpose through the confusion. Captain! I grabbed Varain's arm. There. 10 o'clock. Running. He saw it too. Security, we have a possible suspect fleeing the Eastern Pavilion, heading toward the service corridors. Intercept and detain, but the figure had already disappeared around a corner. I'm faster, I said, and ran before he could stop me. The Valtheran ship's corridors were a maze, but I'd studied the schematics. Service corridors meant maintenance access. Maintenance access meant emergency exits. Emergency exits meant escape. I took the corner at full speed, boots skidding on smooth floor. Ahead, I caught a flash of movement. Dark clothing, non-standard for ship personnel. Stop! Security! Kept running. I pushed harder, legs burning. The corridor narrowed, leading deeper into the ship's infrastructure. Fewer lights, more shadows. Then the figure spun, and I saw the weapon in their hand. I dove sideways as energy bolts seared the air where I'd been standing. Hit the floor hard, rolled, came up behind a support pillar. Who are you? I shouted. No answer. Just more weapons fire, precise and controlled. Professional. Military trained. I was unarmed, outgunned, in unfamiliar territory. But I'd been in worse situations. I grabbed a loose maintenance panel, ripped it free, and threw it like a frisbee. It flew end over end, clanging against the walls. The shooter tracked it instinctively, and I moved. 3 steps. 4. Close enough. I hit them low, tackling around the waist. We went down together, and the weapon clattered away. They fought like a viper, fast, vicious, trained. Elbow to my ribs, knee toward my groin. I'd blocked, countered, tried to pin their arms. Got a good look at their face. Human. You're one of ours, I gasped. They smiled. Blood on their teeth. Not anymore. Then they bit down on something and their eyes rolled back. No, I tried to stop it. Tried to open their jaw, but it was too late. Foam. Convulsions. Then stillness. Poison pill. Old school suicide technique. I sat back, breathing hard, staring at the body. Varain and a security team appeared, weapons drawn. Human. Varain scanned the scene. What happened? They detonated the bomb, tried to escape, and took their own life rather than be captured. I stood slowly. And they were human. Earth security forces, if I had to guess. The collective recruited from inside our own military. This is worse than we thought. Much worse. I looked at the body. Young. Maybe 25. Someone's kid who'd been radicalized enough to die for a cause. If they've turned our own people, then every human delegate is a potential threat. Including my entire delegation. Including me, in their eyes. We need to get back to the Queen, I said. Now. We ran back through smoke and chaos, past medical teams treating the wounded, past engineers sealing the damaged pavilion. 6 dead, 14 injured. And the summit was supposed to continue like nothing had happened. The Queen met us in her war room, a chamber I hadn't seen before, deep in the ship's core. Tactical displays covered every wall. Military advisors stood at attention. Report? She commanded. Varain explained everything. The explosion. The chase. The human operative. The suicide. The Queen's expression remained neutral, but her hands gripped the edge of the tactical table hard enough to make the crystal creak. "So they've compromised Earth's security forces," she said quietly, "which means we cannot trust any human aboard this vessel. With respect, Your Majesty, you can trust me." I stepped forward. "I'm not collective. I'm not compromised. And I can help you identify who is disputing." "Can you?" She looked at me. "Because from where I stand, this looks like an inside job. Human operative. Human explosives. Human target. The cultural ceremony featured artifacts from Earth. This entire attack could have been designed to make us suspect your people. It was designed to make you suspect us. But killing your own people to make a point? That's not how Earth operates." "How do I know that's true?" "Because if Earth wanted you dead, Your Majesty, we'd have done it 12 years ago at the embassy." I held her gaze. "We had opportunity. We had motive. You controlled resources we needed. But instead, one of our soldiers saved your daughter. That tells you everything you need to know about who we really are." Silence filled the room. Then Kayla spoke from the doorway. "He's right, Mother." "Kayla." The Queen's voice held warning. "Return to your chambers." "No." The princess walked forward, and despite being half her mother's size, she held herself like royalty. "I was 4 years old when Marcus saved me. I didn't understand politics or terrorism or war. I just knew I was dying, and a stranger decided I wouldn't. That's humanity. That's what they do." "That's what one human did," the Queen countered. "We don't know. We know enough." Kayla looked at me. "You predicted this attack. You identified the vulnerabilities. You chased down an armed terrorist without weapons. You've done nothing but help us since you arrived." She turned to her mother. "And if we can't trust him, then we can't trust anyone." "Then they've already won." The Queen was quiet for a long time. "Captain Verrain," she said finally. "Your assessment?" "The human's tactical analysis has been sound, his instincts sharp. His actions honorable." Verrain met my eyes. "I believe he's genuine. More than that, I believe we need him. And if you're wrong, then I'll accept full responsibility for the consequences." The Queen looked at each of us in turn. Her advisors. Her captain. Her daughter. Me. "Very well," she said. "Marcus Webb, you will continue as Special Security Consultant. You will have full access to all intelligence regarding the Collective's operations. You will work directly with Captain Verrain to identify and neutralize threats. And you will report directly to me on all findings." She leaned forward. "But understand this, if I discover you've betrayed my trust, death will be a mercy you won't receive." "Clear? Crystal?" "Your Majesty." "Good." She pulled up a holographic display. "Then let's discuss what we know." The explosion was triggered remotely, using human communications protocols. The operative was carrying identification for Lieutenant Sarah Vance, part of Earth's security detail. Except the real Sarah Vance is still in her quarters, unconscious from sedatives. Someone impersonated her. Someone with access to your delegation's credentials and biometrics. That means they're already inside our perimeter. Yes. Which brings us to a difficult question. The Queen's eyes were hard. Ambassador Chen requested immediate evacuation of all human delegates following the attack. He claims your people are in danger and should leave the ship for their own safety. He's trying to scatter the investigation. I said immediately, if the delegates leave, we lose any chance of identifying the collective agents among them. But think about the timing. Right after an attack that makes humans look guilty, he wants to evacuate? That's too convenient. Agreed. I recommend we deny the request. Everyone stays aboard until we've completed our investigation. The Queen considered this. Ambassador Chen won't accept that order from me, but he might accept it from Earth's own government. She looked at me. Can you contact your superiors? Convince them to order the delegation to remain? I can try, but I've been out of the military for years. I have no authority.
You have moral authority. You saved my daughter.
That carries weight. She turned to her communications officer. Open a secure channel to Earth's diplomatic corps. Priority 1. The next hour was a blur of explanations and arguments. Earth's officials were horrified by the attack, suspicious of the circumstances, and divided on how to respond. Some wanted immediate evacuation, others wanted to cooperate fully with the investigation. A few suggested pulling out of the trade talks entirely. I spoke to admirals and politicians and people whose names I'd only seen in news feeds. Explained what I knew, what I suspected. What was at stake? Finally, they agreed. The delegation would remain. But Earth was sending additional security forces, and if there was another attack, all deals were off. I closed the channel and sagged against the console. Well done, the Queen said quietly. You may have just prevented a diplomatic catastrophe, or delayed it. I rubbed my eyes. We still don't know who the collective agents are. We still don't know what they're planning next, and we've used up half our time dealing with the aftermath. Then we adapt. She pulled up new tactical displays. Captain Varane's teams have detained Chief Medical Officer Relaine for questioning. She's denied any wrongdoing, but her access logs are suspicious. We've also identified 2 more potentially compromised personnel, one in food services, one in environmental controls. Are they human? The collective recruits from multiple species. That made sense. Humanity wasn't universally loved in the galaxy. We'd expanded too fast, competed too aggressively. Plenty of people had reasons to want us gone. What about the other human delegates? I asked. Have you screened them? We're working on it. But there are 47 humans aboard, including your ambassador. Screening all of them thoroughly will take time we don't have. Then we don't screen everyone. We focus on the people with opportunity. Who had access to Lieutenant Vance? Who could have sedated her and stolen her credentials? Varane pulled up personnel records. Vance shared quarters with 3 other security officers, all human, all with similar clearance levels. Interview them. Separately. Look for inconsistencies. Already being done. What about Ambassador Chen? Where was he during the attack? In his quarters, according to his schedule. We're verifying. Captain, pull up the embassy attack from 12 years ago, the one where I saved the princess. He frowned but complied. Data filled the screens. Incident reports, investigation records, casualty lists. I scanned through them. Look at this. The terrorists who attacked the embassy were never caught. The investigation went cold within weeks. No arrests. No trials. Nothing. So maybe they were never caught because someone didn't want them caught? Someone with enough authority to shut down the investigation. I looked at the Queen. Who was Earth's ambassador to Kelvar III 12 years ago? Varane pulled up the records, then went very still. Ambassador James Chen, he said quietly. The same Chen who was currently aboard this ship. The same Chen who'd been present at both attacks. The same Chen who wanted all humans evacuated. It could be coincidence, Varane said, but his voice lacked conviction. There's no such thing as coincidence in intelligence work. The Queen's expression was ice. Captain, I want Ambassador Chen brought in for questioning. Immediately and quietly. But before Varane could respond, alarms shrieked again. Different tone this time. More urgent. Environmental breach, main life support hub, someone shouted. Atmosphere processing offline, backup systems failing. The Queen's face went pale. How long before we lose breathable air? 2 hours? Maybe 3? Depends on current oxygen reserves. Can it be repaired? Not if it's been sabotaged. We'd need to evacuate the ship. And just like that, the collective had us. Either we abandoned the summit and scattered across space, making ourselves vulnerable to attack, or we stayed and suffocated. I grabbed Varane's arm, the person in environmental controls. The one you flagged as potentially compromised. Where are they? Detained in security holding? They're the scapegoat. I was already running toward the door. The real saboteur is still in the life support hub, making sure nothing gets fixed. Varane followed, shouting orders. The Queen stayed behind, coordinating evacuation procedures just in case. We reached life support in minutes. The hub was massive. Cathedral-sized chamber filled with processing towers, ventilation systems, and enough machinery to support 30,000 lives. And somewhere in that maze was someone trying to kill us all. Split up, Varane commanded his team. The saboteur, and stop them before... Not huge, but precisely placed. One of the backup processing towers erupted in flame. There, I spotted movement on an upper gantry. Someone in maintenance coveralls running toward the primary systems. I didn't think. Just moved. Grabbed a maintenance ladder, climbed 3 levels, and threw myself across a gap to the gantry. The saboteur heard me coming, spun with a weapon raised. I recognized the face. Lieutenant Sarah Vance. The real one this time, not the impersonator. You, she said, should have died in the embassy fire. Funny, I was thinking the same about you. I raised my hand slowly. Don't do this, Lieutenant. Whatever they promised you, it's not worth it. They promised me a galaxy without human oppression, without us spreading like a disease across the stars. She kept the weapon trained on my chest. And all I had to do was finish what we started 12 years ago. Kill the princess. Make humanity take the blame. Watch as the Empire tears Earth apart. Except I saved her, ruined your plans. You delayed them. Nothing more. She smiled. The girl should have died in that fire. The ambassador couldn't live with the mistake. Spent 12 years planning this, making it right. So Chen was involved, had been from the beginning. Where is he now? I asked, buying time while Varane's teams moved into position below us. Executing the final phase. While we've been playing security theater, he's been planting the real weapon. One that'll make this life support failure look like a technical glitch. Her smile widened. By tonight, the Queen, the Princess, and every delegate aboard this ship will be dead, and Earth will burn for it.
What weapon?
You'll see. In about, she checked her chronometer, 90 minutes. Should give you just enough time to panic. Then she fired, not at me, at the primary life support conduit. The explosion was immediate and catastrophic. Pressure seals ruptured, atmosphere vented into space. Alarms became sirens, became screams. I lunged for her, but she was already moving, heading toward an emergency escape pod. I grabbed her ankle. She kicked my face. Stars exploded behind my eyes. We grappled on the gantry 3 stories above solid floor, while the ship's atmosphere poured out through a wound in its hull. She was stronger, better trained, and winning. My grip slipped, started to fall. Then a hand caught mine. Captain Varane, armor scorched from the explosion, pulling me back up. Vance saw it, saw she couldn't win, made a choice. She smiled once more, then stepped backward off the gantry, fell 3 stories. Didn't scream. Hit the floor with a sound I'll remember forever. Varane pulled me fully onto the gantry. Are you injured? I'm fine. But we've got bigger problems. I explained quickly. Chen, the final weapon, 90 minutes. His face went rigid. We need to warn the Queen. No time for communication. The collective might be monitoring channels. We go directly. We ran back through damaged corridors, past emergency crews sealing hull breaches, past civilians being herded to safe zones, reached the Queen's war room to find it already in chaos. Mother, Kayla was shouting. You can't go through with the banquet. Not now. I must. The Queen's voice was steel. If we cancel, we show weakness. The collective wins even without their weapon. If you die, they win anyway. Your Majesty, Ambassador Chen is the architect of this plot. Has been since the embassy attack 12 years ago. And he's planted some kind of weapon that'll trigger during tonight's banquet. We have 90 minutes to find it. The Queen absorbed this without blinking. Then we find it. Captain Varane, search every centimeter of the banquet hall. Marcus, you're with me. If Chen is truly compromised, I want you present when I confront him. We found Ambassador Chen in his quarters, calmly packing his things. Your Majesty. He bowed, expression perfectly composed. I've just received word from Earth that I'm to return immediately, given the security situation. You're not going anywhere, the Queen said. You're under arrest for conspiracy, terrorism, and attempted murder of a sovereign ruler. I'm a diplomatic representative of Earth. I have immunity, and certainly not for crimes committed while holding it. She stepped closer. I know about the embassy, about your role in the attack, about the past 12 years of planning. You have no proof. I have testimony from one of your operatives. I have access logs showing you near every sabotage site, and I have a human soldier who saved my daughter despite your best efforts to kill her. The Queen's voice went quiet, dangerous. Where is the weapon, Chen? There is no weapon. This is paranoid fantasy. Then you won't mind if we search your quarters? His eye twitched, just once, but enough. Varane's team tore the room apart. Found nothing. But I watched Chen's face. Watched his eyes track to one wall, just for a moment. There, I said, pointing, behind that panel. Found a small device, elegant and deadly. What is it? The Queen demanded. One of the technical officers scanned it, went pale. It's a neural disruptor, set to broadcast during the banquet. Would cause immediate cerebral hemorrhaging in anyone within 100 meters, the entire royal family. All the delegates, everyone. And Earth would take the blame, I finished. Because it would look like our technology, our attack. Congratulations. You think I only built one? Ice formed in my stomach. There are more. 3 more. Hidden throughout the ship. Different frequencies. Different trigger mechanisms. You'll never find them all in time. He looked at the Queen. So you have a choice. Cancel the banquet and look weak, or proceed and die. Either way, the collective accomplishes its goal. The Queen stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned to Varain. Lock him in maximum security. If he dies before trial, I want to know how and why. As guards dragged Chen away, still smiling, I looked at the clock. 60 minutes. 4 neural disruptors, 1 ship. We need to evacuate, one of the advisors said. No. The Queen's voice was absolute. We need to think like the enemy. Chen is arrogant. He built a weapon that required him to be off the ship when it detonated. That means there's a way to disarm them. A master control, probably in his quarters or somewhere he had easy access. I looked at the device in Varain's hands. Can you trace the signal? If the other devices are broadcasting to a common receiver, he worked quickly, scanning frequencies. Yes, a central hub, but it's encrypted. Would take hours to crack. Or seconds, if you know the password. I thought about everything Chen had said. Everything he'd done. 12 years of planning. A man obsessed with one goal, the embassy fire. Try Kelver 3, I said. Location of the original attack. Nothing. The date of the attack? Nothing. I closed my eyes. Thought harder. What would matter to someone like Chen? What would he use to remember his cause? Then I had it. Try Kayla, I said. The princess's name. Varain entered it. The device beeped once. A holographic display appeared showing 4 locations on the ship. 4 neural disruptors, their countdown timers synchronized. 43 minutes remaining. We need 4 teams, the Queen said immediately. 1 for each device. Your Majesty, we don't have enough bomb disposal experts. Then we improvise. She turned to me. You've proven yourself capable of the impossible before, human. Care to try again? I looked at the map. The locations were spread across the ship. The banquet hall. The throne room, the diplomatic quarters, and the princess's chambers. I'll take the one in Kayla's rooms, I said. The rest, I'll take the banquet hall, Varain volunteered. 2 other officers stepped forward, experienced and brave. You have 42 minutes, the Queen said. Try not to fail. I ran. The princess's chambers were on the far side of the ship. I took maintenance shafts, crawled through ventilation ducts, moved faster than I'd ever moved in my life. Reached her rooms with 38 minutes on the clock. Kayla was there, reading. She looked up in surprise. Marcus? What? Now, there's a bomb in here. Just ran. I searched frantically, under the bed, behind the walls, in the ceiling. Where would Chen hide it? Somewhere meaningful. Somewhere symbolic. I looked at her bookshelf. Old texts, cultural artifacts, things precious to her. And there, nestled between 2 books about human history, was the 2nd neural disruptor. 29 minutes. I called for rain. Found mine. Status? Disarmed mine. Teams 3 and 4 still working. Can we help them? They're on opposite sides of the ship. By the time we reach them, there won't be time, I finished. I looked at the device in Kayla's room, studied its construction, the wiring, the trigger mechanism. I'd never been trained in bomb disposal, but I'd watched enough technical briefings to know the basics. Red wire, blue wire. Green wire. Cut the wrong one and it detonates immediately. Cut the right one and it disarms. Choose poorly and I kill myself and everyone nearby. No pressure. I pulled up the schematics from the first device Varain had disarmed, compared them to the one in front of me. They were identical, same model, same construction, which meant the same wire, probably. I reached for my knife. Marcus, Kayla's voice came from the doorway. You should leave. Save yourself out. I'm not a chance kid. I'm not a child anymore. You are to me. I positioned the blade. You were 4 years old and scared and counting on someone to save you. I did it then. I'll do it now. But, Kayla, please, let me do this. Then, thank you for everything. I cut the wire. 21 minutes remaining. I exhaled. Called Varain. Mine's disarmed. How are the others? Team 3, successful. Team 4, a pause. Still working. I checked the location. The diplomatic quarters. Right in the center of the ship. If that one detonated, the explosion would cascade through multiple decks. I'm heading there, I said. You don't have time. I'm going anyway. I ran again. Through corridors now crowded with evacuating personnel. Past security teams forming defensive perimeters. Past the Queen herself standing in the war room watching tactical displays with the stillness of stone. Our eyes met as I passed. She nodded once. I nodded back, reached the diplomatic quarters with 8 minutes on the clock. Found Team 4's leader hunched over the device, hands shaking. I can't do it, he whispered. The wiring is different. The schematic doesn't match. If I cut wrong, then let me try. Maybe I can see something you're missing. He moved aside gratefully.
I studied the device. He was right.
The wiring was different, more complex, multiple redundancies. Chen's masterpiece. The one he'd built personally made sure would work even if the others failed. 5 minutes. I traced each wire, following its path through the circuitry, red to detonator. Blue to timer, green to... Wait, the green wire didn't connect to anything, it was a decoy. And there was a fourth wire, yellow.
Hidden beneath the housing.
4 minutes. There's a fourth wire, I said into my communicator. Check your devices. Yellow wire. Hidden. Confirmed, Vorane responded. My device had it too. I thought it was just grounding. It's not. It's a failsafe. Cut the yellow wire. I positioned the knife. Steady hands. Steady breathing. Cut. The timer flickered. Then accelerated. 2 minutes became 45 seconds. No! The team leader grabbed my arm. You triggered the failsafe. Then we override it. I ripped open the housing fully, exposed the circuit board beneath. 30 seconds. A manual reset switch, built into the board. Chen really had thought of everything. I pressed it. Nothing happened. 20 seconds. Marcus. The Queen's voice came through the communicator. Evacuate. Save yourself. Can't do that, Your Majesty. That's an order. With respect, ma'am, I don't take orders from alien monarchs. I pressed the switch again. Harder. 10 seconds. Only from scared kids who need saving. The switch clicked. The timer stopped. 1 second remaining. I collapsed back against the wall, breathing like I'd run a marathon. All devices disarmed, Vorane reported, his voice shaky with relief. Crisis averted. The team leader beside me started laughing. Hysteria mixed with joy. I just closed my eyes and tried not to think about how close we'd come to oblivion. When I finally made it back to the war room, the Queen was waiting. She didn't speak. Just looked at me with those ancient golden eyes. Then she bowed. The Queen of the Veltheran Empire bowed to a retired human private. Your Majesty, you saved my daughter twice, she said quietly. You saved my ship, my people, my empire. She straightened. The Valtheran do not forget debts of honor. I don't need... I know you don't, which makes the gesture more meaningful. She turned to Kayla, who stood nearby. What would you have me do, daughter? How do we repay such a debt? I think I know. 3 hours later, the banquet proceeded as scheduled. Every delegate was searched. Every security protocol doubled. And at the head table, between the Queen and the Princess, sat a retired human private wearing formal diplomatic robes that didn't quite fit. The Queen stood to make her announcement. Today we faced annihilation, she said, her voice carrying across the assembled delegates. Terrorists sought to destroy not just this ship, but the hope of peaceful coexistence between species. They failed. Because in our darkest hour we found an unlikely champion. I wanted to sink through the floor. Marcus Webb is not a diplomat. Not a politician. Not even a soldier anymore. He's simply a man who refuses to let children die in fires. She paused. 12 years ago, he saved my daughter's life at great personal risk. Today, he saved thousands. He did this not for reward, not for recognition, but because it was necessary. The assembled delegates, hundreds of beings from dozens of worlds, were silent. Humanity has been viewed with suspicion by many in this galaxy, the Queen continued. We expand too quickly, they say. But I submit that any species capable of producing individuals like Marcus Webb deserves not our suspicion, but our respect. To humanity, may we learn from their example. I sat there, overwhelmed, until Kayla leaned over and whispered, You look terrified. I am. Public speaking scares me more than bombs. You saved my life twice and you're afraid of speeches? Everyone has their limits, kid. I'm not a kid, she said again, but she was smiling. The Queen leaned forward. Ambassador Chen has confessed to everything. The embassy attack, the recruitment of operatives, the neural disruptors. That he'll face trial in galactic court. Will Earth's government face consequences? No. Chen acted independently, using terrorist resources. Earth was as much a victim as we were. She took a sip of her drink. In fact, given your role in stopping the attack, public opinion has shifted dramatically in humanity's favor. The trade agreements will proceed, with better terms than originally proposed. I blinked. Because I disarmed some bombs? Because you proved humanity's character when it mattered most. She smiled slightly. Never underestimate the power of symbolic actions, Marcus. Speeches and toasts and formalities. I endured it all, counting the minutes until I could escape to somewhere quiet. Finally, as the celebration wound down, I slipped away to an observation deck, stood at the window, watching stars stream past. Heard footsteps behind me. Kayla, still in her formal robes, looking tired but happy. Running away from your own party? She asked, taking a break from being a hero. It's exhausting. Do you ever think about that day? The embassy? Usually when I can't sleep. Me too. She touched the scar on her arm. I was so scared. Thought I was going to die. Then suddenly there were arms around me and a voice saying, okay. And I knew I'd be safe. I was terrified. But you made me feel brave. She looked up at me. I've spent 12 years wanting to thank you properly, to tell you what you meant to me. And now that you're here, I don't have the words. You don't need words. You're alive. That's thanks enough. Is it really enough? About the nightmares I'd had over the years, the wondering if I'd done enough, saved enough, mattered enough. Yeah, I said finally. It really is. She smiled. Then, impulsively, hugged me. I stiffened. Uncertain, but then relaxed and hugged her back. Behind us, the Queen's voice said softly, I'll leave you two alone. I hadn't heard her approach. Kayla pulled back, embarrassed. Mother, I was just thanking the man who saved your life. I understand. The Queen looked at me. Walk with me, Marcus. We walked the observation deck in silence for a while. Finally, she spoke. I owe you an apology. For suspecting you might be collective. For making you prove your worth when you'd already proven it 12 years ago. You were protecting your people. I don't blame you for that. Still, I should have trusted you sooner. My daughter loves you, you know. I went very still. Your Majesty, don't panic. A slight smile, but she loves you the way a child loves the person who saved them. That's a powerful bond. One I won't dishonor by treating you as anything less than family. You're just a man who does the right thing? Yes, I know. You keep saying that. She turned to face me. But just doesn't apply to people like you, Marcus. There's nothing just about running into fires. Nothing just about defusing bombs with seconds remaining. You're extraordinary. Accept it. I don't feel extraordinary. The moment you start believing your own legend is the moment you stop being worthy of it. She placed a hand on my shoulder. I'm offering you a position. Permanent security consultant to the Valtheran throne. You'd work directly with Captain Verrain, help train our forces in human tactical thinking. Live aboard this ship or on Valtros Prime, your choice. Salary and benefits beyond anything Earth could offer you. I stared at her. Why? Because you've proven yourself irreplaceable. And because my daughter feels safe when you're near. That's worth more than all the trade agreements in the galaxy. I need to think about it. She smiled. But not too long. We still have enemies, and I'd prefer to face them with you on my side. She walked away, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I could go home, return to Earth, file my reports, and fade back into civilian life. Or I could stay, help protect a young princess who trusted me with her life twice, help build bridges between species, maybe prevent the next war before it started. The choice felt obvious, but I'd learned not to trust obvious choices. I stood there a long time, watching the stars, thinking about fires and bombs and scared children and the weight of decisions that shaped worlds. Finally, Kayla returned. So, she asked, are you staying? Mother offered you the security position? She did. And you're hesitant because... I looked down at her. Because I'm just a guy who did his job. I'm not special. Not a hero. And I'm worried that if I stay, people will expect me to be something I'm not. You know what I remember most about that day at the embassy? What? Your hands were shaking?
You were terrified. I could feel it.
She smiled. But you picked me up anyway. Carried me out anyway. Saved me anyway. That's what makes you special, Marcus. Not being unafraid. Being afraid and doing it anyway. Kid. Stop calling me kid. I'm 16 cycles old. I'm not a child. You'll always be the 4-year-old I pulled out of a fire. Good. She held out her hand. Then stay. Keep pulling people out of fires. It's what you do best. Thought about everything that had happened. Everything that could still happen. Then I took her hand and shook it. I'll stay, I said. For a while at least. Her smile could have powered starships. Come on, she said, pulling me toward the banquet hall. You have to give a speech. It's tradition. I hate speeches. That's what makes it funny. As we walked back through crystalline corridors, past guards who nodded respectfully and dignitaries who whispered admiringly, I realized something. I'd spent 12 years thinking I'd saved one life in that embassy. Turned out, I'd saved thousands. And maybe in some small way I'd saved the future. The speech was terrible. I stammered and forgot half my points and made everyone uncomfortable with my awkwardness. But Kayla laughed. The Queen smiled, and Captain Verrain clapped me on the shoulder afterward and said, "Worst speech I've ever heard. Welcome to the team." 3 months later, I stood in the same observation deck, watching Valtros Prime's sunrise from orbit. The trade agreements had been signed. Earth and the Valtheran Empire were officially allies. Humanity's expansion into the galaxy had been legitimized. And I'd helped make it happen. Not through diplomacy or politics or grand gestures, just by refusing to let a child die in a fire. Marcus. Kayla appeared beside me, as she often did these days. Captain Verrain wants to brief you on the new security protocols. Tell him I'll be there in 5 minutes. She nodded, started to leave. Then stopped. Hey, Marcus. For everything. You don't have to keep thanking me. I know, but I will anyway. She looked out at the planet below. Think we'll ever run out of fires to put out? About the countless species and conflicts and dangers waiting in the dark? Probably not, I said. Good. She grinned. I'd hate for you to get bored. She walked away, leaving me with the sunrise and my thoughts. Somewhere below on Valtros Prime, millions of people were waking up to a galaxy that was just a little bit safer, a little bit kinder, a little bit more hopeful, because one person had decided that doing the right thing mattered more than doing the easy thing. I'd spent my whole life thinking I was ordinary. Turned out the galaxy needed ordinary people willing to be extraordinary when it counted. I touched the window, feeling the vibration of the ship beneath my palm. Somewhere out there, someone was probably in danger right now. Someone who needed saving. And when the call came, I'd be ready. Not because I was a hero, but because I'd once carried a scared child through smoke and flame, and I'd promised her it would be okay. That promise still held. It always would.